focus. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Jaya Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Jaya Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tiva Vanachavi Yamuna Yamuna Tiva Vanachavi Yamuna Tiva Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Jaya Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Jaya Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Deva Vanachavi Yamuna Yamuna Deva Vanachavi Yamuna Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Nitai go Haribo, 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 Nitai go Haribo. Jai Shri Prabhupada ki Jai, Shri Isopanisad ki Jai, Samaveta Bhaktivinoda ki Jai, Nitai Go Brahmanande. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna, and welcome to our last class on Sri Isopanisad Mantra 18. So this is the last section, 15 to 18, prayers of longing for Ishwar to reveal himself. Okay, some revision. What type of dress is this body? Temporary. This is now referring to our last class. What type of dress is our body? Prabhupada starts off the purport by saying it's a foreign dress. What is the best way to give up this body? By chanting, being Krishna conscious, by engaging devotional service, by reviving our real identity. One has to learn this art by employing the senses in the service of the Lord during one's lifetime. One can utilize the results of such practice at the time of death. So being Krishna conscious, engaged in devotional service, ultimately you could say remembering Krishna. You're engaging in devotional service to remember Krishna. Just the service alone will not effectively help one. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells Arjuna that he should shoot and think of him, not just shoot. See, just shooting the arrows means nothing. Shooting and thinking of Krishna. So just sweeping the temple is not the key. Sweeping the temple and remembering Krishna is the key. Because you could be sweeping the temple and thinking of your pride, your ego. Yeah, so good. I'm sweeping Krishna's temple. Everybody must see how humble I am. So the key is remembering Krishna. That's important. Okay, mantra 18. Agnenaya supatarayasman Vishwani deva vayunani vidvan Yuyudya asmaj jururanam eno Bhuyishtam te nama uktim videma Agnenaya supatarayasman Vishwani deva vayunani vidvan Yuyodyasmad juru ranam eno Bhuyishtam te nama uktim videma Agnenaya supataraya sman Vishwani deva vayunani vidvan Yuyodhyasma juhuranameno Bhuyishtam tenam uktim videma. O my Lord, as powerful as fire, O omnipotent one, now I offer you all obeisances, falling on the ground at your feet. O my Lord, please lead me on the right path to reach you. And since you know all that I have done in the past, please free me from the reactions to my past sins so that there will be no hindrance to my progress. And so, very wonderful prayer, very devotional prayer. He's submitting himself completely to the lotus feet of Krishna and begging Krishna to please remove all the obstacles, purify me of all my past sins, and allow my progress to be hindrance free to your lotus feet. And you can do all that. Why? Because he's omnipotent, he's all powerful. Yeah. So he also has faith that Krishna can do that because he's all powerful. So with faith, he's surrendering to Krishna, and now he's surrendering to Krishna. He's putting himself completely at the mercy of Krishna and leaving the future to Krishna. And Krishna knows best. So Krishna will do whatever is required for one's future. So the overview is basically 5 sections. Paragraph 1, how obstacles on the path of spiritual life originates. Then 2 and 3, Prabhupada talks about high parentage, people that think I'm born in a very high parentage, therefore I'm a Brahmana, I'm advanced. And Prabhupada says that this does not guarantee self-realization, it's simply a facility. Then what if you don't use this facility for devotional service? You degrade. Paragraph 4. 5 to 7, for a devotee, Lord gives direction and keeps him safe, while the others are on their own. And finally, stage or paragraph 8, stages of Shravan Kirtanam to pure devotion. So, summary of this mantra. In mantra 18, the devotee prays for guidance on the spiritual path and the removal of past sinful reactions, which may hinder his progress. One becomes perfect by thus surrendering unto the Lord, who at once takes charge of a devotee. Gradually, such a devotee develops all the qualities of a saintly person, such as truthfulness, sense control, tolerance, simplicity, and faith in God. The Lord thus guides the devotee on the path of righteousness and spiritual progress. He guides externally as the scriptures, saints, and spiritual master, and internally from within the heart. As one follows this path of the Lord, one becomes a pure devotee. So Prabhupada starts off the purport by describing the hindrances on spiritual path. How do they manifest? What is the breathing ground of obstacles? And Prabhupada says, or writes, by surrendering to the Lord and praying for his causeless mercy, the devotee can progress on the path of complete self-realization. So 2 things one has to do if one wants complete self-realization. If you do either one, or you don't do them effectively, that means it will hinder your progress, or your progress will be very slow, or it won't be complete. If you want your progress on the path to be complete, then surrendering is not an option, it is a must. And praying for his causeless mercy is not an option, it is a must. Okay, so both have to be there. So surrendering is, we could say, well, it's natural that you have to surrender to Krishna completely. But why is praying for his causeless mercy important? Hmm? Yeah, because only He can save you. Only He can reveal Himself. See, on your own, there is nothing you can really do. You need Krishna's mercy. So, therefore, by praying, Krishna is seeing your intention, he's seeing your desire, and he is also understanding that you realize that without him, there is no spiritual progress. So, very, very important. Prabhupada starts his purport very nicely. The Lord is addressed as fire because he can burn anything to ashes, including the sins of the surrendered soul. As described in the previous mantra, the real or ultimate aspect of the Absolute is his feature as the personality of Godhead. And his impersonal Brahmajyoti feature is a dazzling covering of his face. Fruit of activities or karma kanda path of self-realization is the lowest stage in this endeavor. As soon as such activities even slightly deviate from the regular principles of Vedas, they are transformed into Vkarma or acts against the interest of the actor. Such Vkarma is enacted by the illusioned living entity simply for sense gratification, and thus such activities become hindrance on the path of self-realization. So I'll read. So for Prabhupada is from the middle, there Prabhupada says, fruit of activities or karma kanda on the path of self-realization is the lowest stage. And as soon as such activities slightly deviate from the regular principles of the Vedas, they are transformed into Vkarma. Vkarma means? Yes, and one word for Vkarma? Sin. Vkarma means sin, sins, sinful activity. Okay, that's Vkarma. You got three types of karma: akarma, Vikarma, and karma. Karma is in the middle. Akarma is devotional activity, and Vikarma is sinful activity. Karma means those activities in line with the Vedas. Okay? So, Prabhupada is making the point here. As soon as you deviate from the principles of the Vedas, that deviation implies sin. And that sin is a hindrance on the path of self-realization. So any sin will become an obstacle. And sin basically means any deviation from the Vedas. We could extend it further. Any deviation, in our context, any deviation from what Prabhupada has given us in his instructions would be classified as sinful. And therefore, any deviation from that which will be sinful will become a hindrance on the path of spiritual life. So if one wants progress, then one has to surrender 100% to Prabhupada's instructions and pray to Krishna for mercy, and then obviously there would be no hindrance. Now, we discuss, and Prabhupada starts off his purport by talking about surrendering. And usually when people refer to surrendering, they think just surrender. So what do we understand by surrendering? How do we know we are surrendering to Krishna? Following the instructions of the Guru. Okay. Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. Okay, not okay. So accepting the orders of the spiritual master, Guru, Sadhu, Shastra, not acting independently. Okay. Good. Not stop being in anxiety. So if you're saying stop being in anxiety, how do I do that? What do I do then? So that's exactly what he's saying. Don't be in anxiety, let go. But then how do I do it? Just let go. How do I achieve that? How do I practically do that? How am I able to do that? Having faith in who? Having faith in who? Because yes, you have to let go or not be in you understand I'm not in control of my environment. Okay, but how do I let go that attachment to be in control? I need to understand that Krishna is in control. I need to depend on Krishna. So if I depend on Krishna, then I don't depend on the external factors. If I depend on Krishna, then I don't become I'll be in anxiety to the degree I lack faith. And Krishna may put you in a situation where to purify you and intensify your faith so that you can pray like anything, he may put you in that situation. Okay, so Krishna will know what you're lacking and he will put you in an environment accordingly to grow you. Okay, so that's good, yes, depending on Krishna. One more. Because that first sentence, you could say, is the most important sentence of this purport. And then obviously the last few sentences, basically. And I always make the point, Prabhupada's first sentence and last sentence basically are the ultimate sutras. Bhagavatam says, this is eloquence, the truth spoken concisely. It's Prabhupada's eloquence. He tells you everything in the first sentence and last sentence. So this first sentence is very, very important. By surrendering and praying for causeless mercy. So if we don't know what is surrender, then we're not going to achieve complete self-realization. And if we don't know how to pray, then also we won't achieve complete self-realization. So surrendering is important. So there are 6 symptoms of surrender. First, anukulyasya sankalpa, doing only what is favorable for unalloyed bhakti. Pratikulyasya varjanam, rejecting everything unfavorable for unalloyed bhakti. So the first 2 is very easy. My goal is pure devotional service. So accept everything favorable and reject everything unfavorable. Okay. You could technically take every single activity of your existence and put into these 2 boxes. They're either favorable or they're not favorable. They can't be in between. Right? And you could also take your whole day, or rather, let's say, you could take your whole life and put into these 2 boxes. Either favorable or unfavorable. You can take your whole year and put it into these boxes. You can take your whole day and put it in these boxes. You can take all your hours in the day and put in the boxes. You can take each minute of your life and put in this box, and you can take each second and put in this box. So every second, whatever you do, is it favorable or is it unfavorable? And as they say, success starts with small steps. So that means every second, if you do things which are favorable, then eventually your whole minute, your whole day, your whole year, your whole life will be successful. Then, rakshis yatiti vishvaso, having faith that only Krishna, Bhagavan, is one's protector. Goptritva varjanam, accepting Krishna or Bhagavan as one's only maintainer. Atma nikshepa, complete submission of oneself. And karpanya, feeling meek, humble, insignificant, wretched, and materially destitute. So these are 6 symptoms of surrender. That means, remember, surrendering is a gradual process that increases from 0 to 100%. It's not something that, okay, now I get my bead bag, I get some japa, and I get a new name, and I'm surrendered. No. Surrender is gradual. Prabhupada said it can take you 1 second, or it can take you lifetimes. It all depends on you. How much are you surrendering? Which means, how much are you embracing these 6 symptoms, 6 activities of surrender, which will indicate the symptoms of surrender. Which means, if the more I accept things favorable for devotional service, means I am surrendering. The more I reject things unfavorable, means I'm surrendering. If someone is eating something from outside that's not meant to be eaten, and if he looks at number 2, rejecting that which is not good for my devotional service, so I'm eating things which is not good, what I'm going to do? Stop eating. But I'll only stop eating if I want to take the next step in surrender. See? Oh, this is not good. All right, I need to give up this. Which means I want to give it up, which implies I want to surrender. Next step of taking a next step to Krishna in surrendering. But I don't want to give up. It's okay. So now you say it's okay, you just motivated something which is wrong as okay, and that falls under Vkarma. That was sinful. So you just accepted an activity which is sinful. Therefore, what happens? It's a hindrance on the path of bhakti. Okay? So having faith that only Krishna is the protector. And thus also we have faith in many things. Our faith is displayed. So consider, I have to have faith in Krishna as the protector. Does that mean I shouldn't have an alarm? But if I have an alarm, means I have faith in the alarm, or the dogs, or a gun.
We don't prematurely also think that we are as little, but in reality we're not. We also have to consider our current circumstances.
But okay, but even with the current circumstances, right? With all the hijacking, violence, can Krishna not protect you? I mean, okay, do the current scenario match Hiranyakashipu? To the current scenario, that means if you put all the thieves, all the thugs, all the hijackers, you put them together, do they match Hiranyakashipu? No. So what was Prahlad doing then? Did he put burglar bars and alarms, and what did he do? He had firm faith that Krishna would protect him. And what did Krishna do? Krishna did protect him. So if we have a burglar bar, does that mean we're not following this principle? Shamkun, you wanted to say something?
To understand that even if you thought of it so the alarm clock by his mercy, the alarm is working.
Okay, so that's one way to see that it's Krishna's arrangement. So the first exercise we should do is at least evaluate where I am in relation to these 6 activities, right? What am I doing that's favorable? What am I doing that's not favorable? How much faith do I have in Krishna? Do I accept him as my maintainer? Am I completely submissive to him? Am I meek and humble? Because if we starting the practice of devotional service, that means we're not completely surrendered. That means this will be 5%, 1%, 10%, 50%, etc. So if I don't have firm faith in Krishna right now, then yes, I can still take practical measures to protect myself. And as time goes on, Krishna will teach me more and more that even those things you can't depend on. Okay? They'll either fail or something will happen, and eventually you think, yeah, actually it's right. These things don't work. I have to depend on Krishna. So it's not premature, because yes, premature may not work, but you want to take practical steps, and eventually Krishna will put us in situations to allow us to follow these 6 symptoms of 6 activities or qualities of surrender more and more. Now, Prabhupada, in different parts of his purports, talks about these 6 activities in the introduction, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and also Nectar Devotion. And I just put them here just to show, because sometimes Prabhupada uses different words for these different 6 symptoms. Right? So, for example, the first basically the first 2 is very clear. In all of them, Prabhupada is talking about accepting things which are favorable for engaging in devotional service, right? So that's straightforward. Then the second one also straightforward, rejecting things unfavorable, straightforward. So the first 2 is fairly clear. Then the third one, Prabhupada says first, always believe firmly in the protection of the Lord, the conviction that Krishna will give protection, and to believe that Krishna will always give protection. So it's also similar, having faith, firm conviction, and believe that Krishna will protect one. So even though I may put burglar bars, I'm putting burglar bars to take practical steps, but I still have firm faith that ultimately Krishna will still protect. He is the ultimate protector. Okay, so we still take practical measures, but our faith is that yes, even with these things, I'm just, let's say if I put burglar bars, I'm just keeping the trouble away to some degree. Because if I don't have burglar bars, or if I don't have, things, then I'm actually breathing attention. I'm getting people to say, oh yeah, hold on, this is easy. This place is easy to. So by putting burglars, bars or protective mechanisms, it's a deterrent for the thieves. But ultimately, even if the thieves do come in, devotees completely convinced Krishna will protect. Krishna will do what's required. Then the fourth one, feel exclusive dependent on the mercy of the Lord, acceptance of the Lord as one's guardian or master, and to identify oneself with Krishna's devotees. Interesting. I thought the fourth one there in the last column was interesting in relation to this quality of accepting Krishna as one maintainer. Right? So basically, maintainer means I depend on Krishna. He's my guide. He's my master. And I also identify oneself with Krishna's devotees. I take the shelter and the protection of devotees. So that is also an interesting point. Then the fifth, which is in relation to complete submission of oneself, have no interest separate from the interest of the Lord. So surrendering completely also implies not just physically, okay, Krishna, I'm yours, but even mentally. I have no other interest. No, in terms of desire, I have no interest, okay, other than Krishna's interest. Then full self-surrender, always to feel in the inability without the help of Krishna. So this is also surrendering completely. That I know I am totally useless without Krishna's help. So I surrender. And then the last one, mainly focus on meek and humble, which is consistent, always feeling oneself meek and humble, and humility, always to think oneself inferior to Krishna, even though one may have full capacity to perform something on his own. So even though you may be a triple black belt karate champion, still you have firm faith in Krishna, that Krishna, I depend on you, I accept you as my protector, my maintainer, I'm useless. Okay, so that's meek and humble. Any questions on those 6 characteristics? Yes. Sure.
How you feel always leaving Krishna sick. Like in the previous report, about how, and even before, about how both the material side and the spiritual side have to go on parallel lines.
Yes.
So those things, most of the protection is in the body.
Yes.
So doing it as the duty that you have to maintain the body,
Yes.
that you can still be fully dependent.
Correct. Once you accept that everything is coming from Krishna, then Krishna is giving me the intelligence, Krishna is making the arrangements, Krishna is providing the facility so that I can use these things and in this way continue my devotion. That is totally different in relation to putting these things and not having faith in Krishna. See? So we need to have the faith and accept that everything is arranged by Krishna. For example, did Prabhupada have bodyguards? Many places Prabhupada had a bodyguard, sometimes 2. See? So how come he had bodyguards? It says, have firm faith in Krishna's protection. Because Prabhupada did not see the bodyguards as separate from Krishna's protection. See? Oh, Krishna is sending me some bodyguards to protect. Oh, thank you very much, Krishna. Without you, I can't do anything. See, it's still connected to Krishna. But if you now have the bodyguards and thinking, yeah, they will protect me, I don't need Krishna's protection. I'm cutting their connection to Krishna. That becomes an obstacle. So, in relation to these are all, naturally these activities of 6 surrender means because we're surrendering to Krishna, so they're all connected to Krishna. They have to be connected to Krishna. Anything outside that will be a shortfall of surrender, and we'll have to purify ourselves through learning and eventually surrendering. And we'll see. I mean, throughout our life, there'll be many examples in our journey where Krishna will put us in different situations to basically come to these points of surrender. Now, Prabhupada talks about Vkarma in the purport. And Vkarma, as we mentioned, means sin. So, sin basically means activities that are engaged in the past, which are not according to scripture, not according to Krishna's interest or desire. Therefore, they are sinful. And sinful activities will deliver a negative reaction. So, any experience we have that is painful, uncomfortable, suffering, traumatic, anxiety, basically means that we did something in the past that was sinful. And the first picture is showing that there are 2 aspects to this reaction. One is external and one is internal and psychological. So for example, external, if I perform Vkarma, I may get a reaction where there may be some disease, or I get attacked, or I lose my job. Some external environment that impacts me, that is due to Vkarma. Or psychologically, internally, I may feel some suffering mentally. There may be some material desires, some lust, anger, greed, jealousy. All these are due to sinful activities. Okay? So internal and external, which means we're suffering from our sins externally coming to us from external environment as well as internally due to our material desires and unwanted qualities. Those, as Prabhupada says, because they're hindrances, they will stop us from progressing on the path of devotional service. So we have to purify ourselves. We have to give up the sinful activities. On our own, it's impossible to give it up. By surrendering to Krishna and depending on Krishna and by engaging devotional service, we can sail over all the sins and all the turmoil of this material ocean. And Prabhupada compares the movement or the ship of devotional service, where one is placed on the ship. In our case, Prabhupada's mercy created an institution where we can practice the process. Naturally, our advancement is not dependent on the institution, but the institution is required for getting more people saved onto the boat. Okay? So it has a purpose. But once you're on the boat of devotional service, then you are saved from the ocean. Now, you're on this boat of devotional service, practicing it, and it's now moving towards its destination to safety. What can my Vkarma, hindrances, obstacles, material desires, do in relation to this ship that can become obstacles, further obstacles, which leads to the third picture? Because the boat has a purpose, right? So what can my material desires, my sinful activities, my Vkarma, my material desires, etc., do that can prevent me from achieving success in relation to this boat and ship of devotional service?
Jump off the ship.
Right, so that's the one thing you can do. You can jump off the ship.
Cause so much problems. Ship will stop.
Right, so one is you can jump off the ship. I had enough, so I jump off the boat. Now, if you jump off the ship, what's more safe, the ocean or the ship? Naturally. So you just jumped into the ocean, you're not going to be saved. So that's the first thing that can go wrong. The second thing, as Sham Kunpro said, you can start making holes in the boat or in the ship. Now, if you start making holes in the ship, what's going to happen? What is going to start coming in? Right? So you're going to basically cause the ship to start sinking. So that also is dangerous. And the other thing is that we could steer the ship in the wrong direction. We decided, okay, because who's the captain of the ship? Prabhupada. He knows where to steer the ship. So we decide, no, I want to be the captain. So you start being the captain, and now you start steering the ship where you want to go, and that could be the wrong direction. So even though you're on the ship, but you may be heading in the wrong direction. So that's what material desires can do. That's why Prabhupada says it's a hindrance. And therefore we have to be very cautious and careful in terms of progressing on the path of devotional service. And Prabhupada will give us, in the purport, Prabhupada will highlight exactly what can be done. Then Prabhupada talks about, in the next paragraphs, Prabhupada talks about this human form of life. And Prabhupada says, self-realization is possible in the human form of life, but not in other forms. So this is also very important. Self-realization is possible in the human form of life and not for others. If you, as a human being, don't practice spiritual life, what is that? Vkarma, sin. Therefore, what you're going to experience? Suffering, sinful reaction. See? So if somebody doesn't want to practice spiritual life or self-realization, then they'll get a suitable body, non-human. in the next life. Human life means a life of responsibility, especially for self-realization. There are 8.4 million species or forms of life, of which the human form qualified by Brahminical culture presents the only chance to obtain knowledge of transcendence. Brahminical culture includes truthfulness, sense control, forbearance, simplicity, full knowledge, and full faith in God. So the human form gives us an opportunity to cultivate these Brahminical spiritual qualities. As soon as one becomes proud of his birth as a son of a Brahmana and neglects to acquire the qualifications of a real Brahmana, he at once becomes degraded and falls from the path of spiritual realization. So you're probably talking about how people, they're born in a Brahmin family, and then they think, oh, I'm a Brahmana, I'm a qualified Brahmana. But Prabhupada making very clear, no, you're born in a Brahmana family doesn't make you a Brahmana. You have to get the qualifications of a Brahmana. Similarly, on the path of spiritual life also, if I'm born in a devotee family, doesn't make me a devotee. I need to cultivate and imbibe the qualities of a devotee. If I just wear, dhoti kurta and have a bead bag, that doesn't make me a devotee. I have to cultivate, I have to get the qualities that makes me a devotee. Okay? So it's very important. It's not just the externals that I look like a Brahmana, I'm a Brahmana. Born in a Brahmin family, I'm a Brahmin. No. Or I look like a devotee, I'm a devotee. I'm born in a family of devotees. My father is a proper disciple. And because my father is a proper disciple, and actually he's so proper, as a servant and he can have his whole history, therefore it makes me very advanced. No. Consider Prabhupada's own children. Not all of them were interested in spiritual life. Some of them even want to take over the movement. So it doesn't mean if I'm born in a pure devotee's house, that makes me a pure devotee. No. You're born in a pure devotee's house, Prabhupada says that is a very good opportunity, facility. But that does not make you a pure devotee. Yes?
Self-realization being possible in scripture, but in Srimad Bhagavatam, it says how the incarnations of the Lord, they're coming in all species.
Yes.
And they're making a spiritual living.
Yes. So, just like a pure devotee can help a dog achieve perfection, like Shivananda Sen. So by Shivananda Sen's mercy, the dog got the association of Lord Chaitanya. Prabhupada in that purport, in that pastime of Shivananda Sen, says that because Shivananda Sen was compassionate to that dog, merciful to the dog, wanted to take the dog to Jagannath Puri, that dog got opportunity to meet Lord Chaitanya. And because he got the opportunity to meet Lord Chaitanya engaged that devotee or that dog in chanting Hare Krishna and gave it prasad. And that association of devotional service or practice allowed the dog to go back to the spiritual world. But it had to start by the mercy of Shivananda Sen. So the pure devotee can create unknown devotional credits for the living entities. And that's what the Lord also does in his incarnations. When he appears as Matsya, all the fish that sees him, some of them, depending on their past, some of them will get liberated. Some of them will get a position to become devotees. Okay? Each according to their individual relationship with Krishna. So in that way, Krishna does create a revolution in the hearts of all the living entities according to the different incarnations. But just like on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, everyone on the battlefield of Kurukshetra saw Krishna. Right? The Kauravas and the Pandavas. But not all the soldiers got the same destination. Some of them merge into Brahman, and some of them achieve their form, Vishnu form, in the spiritual world. They got different different spiritual reactions, right? Benefits that they saw Krishna, but according to their individual identity or their spiritual progress. Yeah. But it is only in the human form that I can really practice the process of devotional service. The non-human species, they don't have that faculty or facility even to think. But they dependent on devotees. And by devotees' mercy, they can also start their journey. The mercy of the Lord. In Bhagavad Gita 6:41-42, we are assured by the Lord that the yoga brishta, or souls fallen from the path of self-realization, are given a chance to rectify themselves by taking birth either in the families of good brahmanas or in the family of rich merchants. Such births afford higher chances for self-realization. If these chances are misused due to illusion, one loses the good opportunity of human life afforded by the Almighty Lord. So this is Krishna's mercy. That somebody who hasn't progressed 100%, Krishna will give them a situation that's conducive for them to progress. But it doesn't mean that if Krishna puts you in that position for you to progress, you will make progress. You can, from that situation, be illusioned and get derailed again. Just like, can we get derailed right now? Yes. If you want to play with fire, right? Just like you'll say, you know what, Lord Nityananda, Lord Nitya was so merciful. Lord Nitya would go to the bars, he would go to any place, maybe we should try the prostitution house also. See? So okay, let's go try, and maybe we should choose the worst prostitution house in the country. If you now want to go preach in a danger zone, you are going to an environment, even though you may want to go preach, but you're going there, which is a risky environment. Or the associates of Lord Chaitanya, Rasikanandan, these great devotees, they would initiate tigers and lions and elephants. So maybe we should try the Joburg Zoo. And just tell them, can you just keep the cage open? I just want to go preach to your tiger there. Or not from outside the cage, Rasikanandan, they went directly into the forest. I like to also just go directly. So you go try that and see what happens. So you're going to a zone that's dangerous. That's not healthy for you. And therefore you will get burnt. You will get a reaction. You will destroy your spiritual life. Okay, so we have to understand we can't prematurely just do things. We have to understand what is my level, and from that level, understand what is secure for me. That's why in the pastime of Gajendra, Prabhupada in the purport makes it very clear that Gajendra, he is the animal of land. Therefore, for him to go into the territory of water was dangerous. We also have to understand, okay, I'm a brahmachari. Okay, I'm a family man. Okay, I'm meant to be a devotee. Therefore, I cannot go into this environment. I cannot do such things. I cannot, embrace these things which may be detrimental for my spiritual life. So I also have to be aware what's good and bad, just like the 6 symptoms of surrender. If I don't know what's beneficial for devotional service, what's not beneficial, I'm going to know, okay, I need to avoid this or not avoid that. So therefore, the power of intelligence or discrimination must be used to understand this is dangerous for me. This is detrimental for me. If I go in this direction, I'm going to weaken my devotional service, or eventually I may destroy it. Therefore, I put brakes or I take a U-turn and move in the opposite direction. But if I don't heed my intelligence or the good advice and intelligence coming from Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra, then I can get burnt. And I may lose the opportunity that Krishna has given me, which may in a Brahmanical family of devotees, or even in a wealthy family. That's why if one is even born in a devotee family, doesn't mean one will become a devotee automatically with that facility. If as parents we don't bring up the children properly, you teach them the wrong thing right from small, what's going to happen? There's my small 5-year-old and is growing up, right? And I say, you see this? This is chair. Understand? Chair. And you see this? This is table. Now he's 21 years old, he's in university. And the professor said, can you bring the chair? What are you going to do? He's going to bring the table. See? Because that's what he was told from small. So if you bring up your children in the wrong way, then naturally they will grow up with those traits and qualities, and they will lose the opportunity that they've been given. It's rare even to be born in a family of brahmanas, devotees, or even rich merchants. It's Krishna's mercy for those that are sincere and serious, but it can become an obstacle, or we may not get advantage of that, lose the opportunity. Different parts then Prabhupada starts talking about in the next paragraph. The regulative principles are such that one who follows them is promoted from the platform of fruitive activities to the platform of transcendental knowledge. After many, many lifetimes of cultivating transcendental knowledge, one becomes perfect when he surrenders unto the Lord. This is the general procedure. So if you follow the principles in the Vedas, you follow the regular principles in the Vedas, you will be promoted to the platform of fruitive activities, and then from there to the platform of knowledge. And in this way, this will take lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes to go, to progress. And that's generally the standard procedure. That's why Krishna says, Bahunam Janmanam Ante. After many, many millions of lifetimes, one comes to the conclusion. Or you could even, Krishna even says, out of many thousands among men who aspire for spiritual life, there may be few who are serious. And out of thousands of those who are serious, hardly one know me in truth. So it takes lifetimes and lifetimes to progress. It's not a quick progress. And that happens because of the nature of the environment. We are in an environment that is against Krishna. We are in an environment that basically is not interested in serving Krishna. It's surcharged. So because of that nature, to not think of Krishna is normal. To think of Krishna is rare. To surrender completely to Krishna is absolutely rare. And to become a pure devotee is absolutely very, very, very rare. So, Prabhupada is showing that this is generally the progress. Then he says, but one who surrenders at the very beginning, as recommended in this mantra, at once surpasses all preliminary stages simply by adopting the devotional attitude. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 1866, the Lord at once takes charge of such a surrendered soul and frees him from all reactions to his sinful activities. And this is like the express elevator. Bhakti is like an express elevator instead of the staircase. If you simply surrender to Krishna, that's like taking the express elevator. And even though you're not qualified, so if I take a dog and I put a dog in the express elevator and I press the button to go to the 100th floor, what's going to happen? The dog is going to go to the 100th floor, right? He's a dog. But how did he go to the 100th floor? With the express elevator, right? Nothing changed. He's still a dog. So if you're a rascal and you go into the express elevator and you press 100, you're still going to be a rascal, but now you're going to be a rascal that's on top. That's the only difference. Okay. You haven't gone through the austerity of lifetime over lifetime over lifetime, taking the staircase, purifying your narratives, getting burned, getting tested, purifying your understanding, your knowledge, renunciation, detachment, and then becoming a jewel on the top. No. You just jumped into the express elevator as a rascal, and now you go right on the top as a rascal. So you are a rascal on the top, but you are a rascal that's achieved the highest level on the top. Okay? And that's why someone who's a rascal can act like a rascal, but he's on the top. Now you're wondering, how can he act like a rascal? Well, what is a dog going to do? Bark. But the dog is already also on the top. So therefore, if I have to ask the question now with the dog, so remember we talked about the express elevator taking us to the top, right? So now, is the dog and the rascal on the top? Yes. So is the rascal and the dog pure devotees? So Prabhupada says, yes, only time is separating them. See? Which means that they already there on the platform where pure devotees are meant to be, but because the express elevator just took them there, but now they're not matured. So by practicing the process of devotional service, they will mature. That's why only time is separating them. But they're already on their destination. Clear? There's nothing, there's no higher destination to achieve. You're already there. Whereas the yogis and all the other living entities, they have to gradually go up like a staircase and get purified and get whatever they need, all the lessons they need to learn to get to the top. We already got to the top, but we haven't learned any lessons. We haven't purified our life. But by practicing the process of devotional service, then that very quickly, effectively gives you the result of devotional service. Clear? So that's why Prabhupada is saying the easiest process is just surrender. That's all. Then Prabhupada continues to glorify the path of bhakti. There are many sinful reactions involved in karma kanda activities, whereas in jnana kanda, the path of philosophical development, the number of sinful activities is smaller. Note, Prabhupada started this purport by saying, in a purport related to this point. So what is this point talking about? Yes, sinful activity, right? And what did Prabhupada say? That Vkarma is an hindrance. Now Prabhupada is saying, there are many sinful reactions involved in karma kanda activities. That means anyone who's engaged in karma kanda activities, he is going to be involved in sinful activity. Even though the karma kanda activity is coming from the Vedas, but then they embracing those activities which are in the Vedas, which will help them to make progress, but also give them sinful activities. And more so in karma kanda and jnana kanda, philosophical understanding from the Vedas. But in devotional service to the Lord, the path of bhakti, there is practically no chance of incurring sinful reactions. So in the path of devotional service, the path of bhakti, there is no question of sinful activities. If and only if I'll go back. If and only if no offenses, yes. What 3 examples did we give? right? You don't jump off, you don't make holes, and you don't steer the boat in the wrong direction, right? That means you don't stop the process of devotional service. That means you don't create offenses or things that are your own understanding and make holes or move in the wrong direction. Then there will be no sinful reaction. Otherwise, they can be. So if you follow the process as it's given down, then there is no sinful reactions compared to the other two. One who's a devotee of the Lord attains all good qualifications of the Lord himself. What to speak of those of a Brahmana? So remember I said the dog or the rascal goes to the top. Right? Now the dog and the rascal starts to practice devotional service. And what's quickly going to happen? If they practice nicely, diligently, rigidly, seriously, with faith, they will get all the good qualifications of the Lord. So that way also we can see that if somebody is seriously practicing, it will also be shown not only in the 6 symptoms of surrender, but also the qualities that they developing. 26 qualities of a devotee. One can measure. In terms of karma kanda, jnana kanda, and upasana, the Vedas, if you take the full body of the Vedas, you can divide the Vedic scriptures into these different categories. Karma kanda section, where a lot of ritualistic, fruitive rituals are there. If you want this, you do this. If you want to get married, you do this. If you want money, you do this. It's all based on fruitive results. Then jnana kanda, philosophical discussions, understanding. And then upasana kanda, worship. So it's explained that 96% of the Vedas is karma kanda. Majority of the people are revolving around those scriptures. 4% is jnana kanda and upasana kanda. And bhakti, the process of devotional, so the process of Krishna consciousness falls under upasana kanda. So we can understand that even the process of bhakti is very rare. It's a small part of the Vedas. Therefore, majority of people don't even get that. It's only by the mercy of the pure devotee like Srila Prabhupada that now people are getting exposed to that part of the Vedas, which is meant to be the ultimate goal. Most people in this world want sense gratification. So the Vedas is giving that opportunity. And lifetimes after lifetime, billions of lifetimes, they may progress and come to now Jnana Kanda. Then take many billions of lives and discussing philosophy, then they come to Upasana Kanda, worship of Vishnu. Then again continue and then finally come to worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead and surrender to Him. So we're fortunate that we've skipped all this and now got the highest knowledge by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya and mercy of Srila Prabhupada. The devotees are dear to the Lord. Can read, Shamkun?
Since the omnipotent Lord is situated within the heart of everyone, he can give directions to his sincere devotees by which they can attain the right path. Such directions are especially offered to the devotee, even if he desires something else. As far as others are concerned, God gives sanction to the doer only at the risk of the doer. But in the case of a devotee, the Lord directs him in such a way that he never acts wrongly. Srimad Bhagavatam 11.542 says, "The Lord is so kind to the devotee who is fully surrendered to his lotus feet, that even though the devotee sometimes falls into the entanglement of the karma acts against the Vedic directions, the Lord at once rectifies such mistakes from within his heart. This is because the devotees are very dear to the Lord."
Right. So here Prabhupada starts with the purport to say, since the omnipotent Lord is situated in everyone's heart, he can give direction to the devotee to do what's right. So Prabhupada is not talking about potency in terms of external physical potency. Here the Lord has the potency to direct and the potency to purify one's sins. And Krishna will direct the devotee because he's sincere. Krishna will direct him to learn the right lessons. For a non-devotee, Krishna will sanction, but it's very clear here. He's sanctioning your activity, but he's not approving or accepting that that's right. He's sanctioning, but the risk is on you. The risk is your risk. Krishna will sanction every activity. So if you want to kill someone, Krishna will have to sanction that. Otherwise, you can't kill. And what is Krishna sanctioning? What is the super soul sanctioning? Let's say I want to kill you. What is Krishna? What does the super soul need to sanction? Yeah, so you want to kill someone. Right? So your desire is to kill someone. So now you want to go and kill. But here it says God is to sanction. Not a blade of grass moves without the sanction of Krishna. So Krishna is have to sanction. So before you go and kill, Krishna already had sanctioned. You can or you can't. Super soul knows, oh, you want to kill the person. Okay. Pause. Let's see what the person's karma is. Let's see what's your karma. Sanction vote. Okay. Approved. Press the button. Continue. Or pause. Okay, look at your karma. Or look at his. Oh, his piety is very good. Sorry. Can't happen. But he did do some little mischief. So we'll give him a fright. So all you can do is you can go and try to kill, but you will not be successful, and you'll just frighten him. You'll just give him a traumatic shock. Play. And you go. Now you try to kill the person, and unfortunately the person cannot be killed because it's not sanctioned. Or pause, super soul says, okay, from your past and his past, sorry, this cannot happen. Your desire will not manifest. If you want, maybe future lives, but not now. Play. And nothing happens. All of a sudden, he hears the siren or something and he runs. So this way, the super soul is sanctioning. Krishna is not saying, oh, no, that's not good. That's right. No, that's wrong. He's not saying if it's right or wrong. The super soul will not interfere with your decision, with what you want to do or don't want to do. He will only sanction whether you can do it or not. Whereas Krishna will interfere. Right? Krishna will interfere that, no, let me give him some intelligence, or let me change the variable so that he learns. So Krishna is a little more personal and involved in your life than just the super soul or the non-devotees. And Prabhupada says, for devotee, even though he may deviate, but because he's sincere and Krishna is attached to him, because he wants to be a devotee, he wants to surrender. Therefore, how Krishna deals with his deviation of Vkarma is totally different from how Krishna deals with the non-devotees. In terms of Vkarmas, in terms of sinful activities. Krishna is far more merciful because the devotee is rightly situated. Yes?
Question. I met somebody who does this Gita, something like that. And she believes that as a child of God, God is all opulent one.
Yes.
Your birthright to have opulence.
Yes.
And if you ask, you shall receive.
Yes.
And they do this thing. Now I'm thinking now you've got karma.
Yes.
Karma sanctions it, as you're saying, when you get it. That's trying to tell her that maybe they're withdrawing from the karma prematurely to get what they want right now, but it's going to affect you later on.
Correct.
So was I right in my rationale, or?
Yes. So one way you could counteract that, right? So you ask her, so this, what you're doing, does it work? And what she's going to say?
It works for them.
Right. No. If you ask her, does it work? She'd say yes. So then you said, so, and she's in South Africa. So you say, so why do so many poor people in South Africa? Because
They're not asking.
You know, that's how. So that's what they'll start finding excuses to cover. Yeah, to cover. But if, for example, yeah, so there are many examples. But if that was working, that's science. That this science will work, and you just have to think, and will purify you, and you'll get whatever you want, and all opulence you'll get. If that was the case, then true, everybody will be opulent. But they don't understand that that's not the science. The science and the truth, according to the Vedas, which we accept coming from Krishna and which we accept as a truth, is that your life is a continuation of your karma. What you did, you're going to get. And this life, we in the last purport also probably made very clear, this life is simply the reaction of your past karma that you're going to get. And it's already dictated from the beginning of your birth what you're going to get and what you're not going to get. Nothing more, nothing less. You cannot change that. If I buy a ticket to Cape Town, guess where I'm going? Cape Town. Right? But I could go to Cape Town, which is destiny. In Kali, let's say in the material world, somebody may say, no. If I buy a ticket to Cape Town, I may not go to Cape Town because the plane may crash. But that only happens in the material world. The laws of the Lord, Prabhupada says, are stringent. Yeah. They don't deviate. There's no, like for example, ESCOM has problem even to manage the lights, right? Consider Surya. Did you ever have a sun cut? Sun load shedding? Right? And the sun has been giving us light already 150 trillion years. And will continue for another 150 trillion years without missing a day. So the laws of the Lord are stringent. You cannot, there won't be a mistake. And because the law is very stringent, that according to your karma, whatever you're going to get, you can't deviate. That's why no matter what people do, it'll work for some, and the majority it may not work. But the fact that it worked for some only means that in their past karma, they were meant to get that. They were meant to meet this lady, and then she's meant to do something, and they meant to get that. See, and it looks like the science is working. But no, if the science was working, it'll work for everyone. Same thing with the law of attraction. Same thing with success principles. Right? Success principles, they only show you that, oh, this person followed the success principle, therefore is successful. But you didn't show me all the other billions of people that are following the success principle that didn't work. It's a marketing strategy. Whereas in Krishna consciousness, we can show you all the people that genuinely follow and perfect their life. And scripture is giving that. And the beauty is you can test the journey yourself because it's a science. It's the truth. So they wouldn't accept that because it's telling them that they really don't have it together. But from our side, it's very clear and logically we can understand, because if it did work, right, then everyone would be opulent. And the initial premise is true, because we are part and parcel of Krishna. Krishna wants us to have opulence, which is 100%, but not here in the Goloka Vrindavan. See, that's where he wants us. That's where we'll have Vaikunta. All the devotees in Vaikunta, they have the same form as Lord Vishnu. So in Vaikunta, yes, they're all opulent. Krishna wants everyone to be there in the spiritual world. We've deviated, we've left Krishna, therefore we're in the prison house. And no prisoner in the prison house got the opulence of somebody outside. Yeah, the prisoner is basically tortured. The prisoner he's in a correctional institution. He's meant to rectify his consciousness. Therefore, we, in a similar situation, we will not get the opulence of the spiritual unless Prabhupada says everyone becomes a devotee. Every single living entity becomes a devotee. Then collectively we can make this Vaikuntha. Because if everybody becomes devotee, who are we going to use all the money for? For Krishna. So there will be no exploitation. That can happen. But otherwise, no. That formula, unfortunately, for them is incorrect. So you were right. Yeah. Right, I think we covered. As conditioned soul, no, okay. A conditioned soul is very often apt to commit mistakes. And the only remedial measure is to take against such unintentional sins is to give oneself up to the lotus feet of the Lord so that he may guide one to avoid such pitfalls. The Lord takes charge of the fully surrendered souls. Thus, all problems are solved simply by surrendering oneself unto the Lord and acting in terms of his directions. Such directions are given to the sincere devotee in two ways. One is by the ways of the saints, scriptures, and spiritual master, and the other way is by the Lord himself, who resides within the heart of everyone. So, Prabhupada is making the point that a conditioned soul, it's very apt for him to commit mistakes. If you commit a mistake, what should you do? First thing, don't do it again. Right? Learn from the mistake. Second, you should repent, because repentance burns the sinful reactions away. If you do something wrong and you don't think twice about that it's wrong, it's okay. Doesn't matter. Then you haven't learned from it, and the reaction will not be burnt, and you will have to suffer the consequence. So if one makes mistakes, and it's apt, Prabhupada said, to make mistakes, it's conditioned nature to make mistakes, but learn from it and repent. And that will help one to progress even with the mistakes, because you're repenting. And then Prabhupada says, the Lord takes charge of the fully surrendered soul. Thus, all problems are solved. Every single problem we have, every single problem that people can dream of, every single problem that this creation ever had can be solved simply by surrendering to Krishna and acting according to his directions. So you'll see, Prabhupada doesn't just say surrender. Surrender means following instructions of Krishna. Just like in the army, you're losing the battle. Now you put up your white flag. So as soon as you put up your white flag, what is the opponent going to do? A good opponent. He's going to stop, right? So he's going to cease fire. Now when he sees fire, what is he going to come and tell you to do? Because now you put the flag up. Yeah, now that means surrender. Now he's going to tell you, okay, let's go, carry my goods. Go cook, go do this. He's going to engage you in their service. If your enemy engages you in his service and you don't do that, that means you weren't serious about the flag. You weren't serious that I'm surrendering. Okay? And that's the message we also give Krishna. No, Krishna, I'm serious about surrendering. Okay, chant Hare Krishna. Yeah, next week. But you just said you're serious about surrendering. Now you want to delay it for 1 week. No, but I'm serious. Oh, okay, next week comes. So you go buy your bead bags, you're very happy, you start chanting. You chant 6 rounds that day. Krishna says, wow, very nice, serious, chanting 6 rounds. The next day, 2 rounds. Following day, 0 rounds. Now Krishna is wondering, is he serious or what? He's chanting 6 rounds, then 2 rounds, and now no more rounds. I'm not sure if he's serious. Then he goes to 16. Oh no, it looks like he's serious. Then no rounds. Oh, not sure if he's serious. So you see, you give mixed signals to Krishna by your unsteady service or surrender, chanting the holy name. Eventually, Krishna says, okay, when you're serious, let me know. I'm not paying attention now. So if we're serious, then we commit and we grow from that commitment. We don't wane from the commitment. That shows you serious. So in this way, Krishna will, and if you're genuinely serious, then Krishna naturally starts to reciprocate and Krishna starts to guide accordingly. But that is important. And Krishna guides, as Prabhupada says here, from devotees, sadhus, shastra, guru, and from him, within himself as the Lord. Now, these Vkarmas, sinful activities, they cause hindrance in one's journey. And those hindrance may be, as we explained, sinful activities, temptation, bad habits. These are all due to sinful activities. And initially, when we are facing our temptations or bad habits, we may go through these 4 different stages, but the first stage is helpless defeat. We just think, no, this is impossible. There's no way I can overcome these challenges. Like let's say I have a bad habit of smoking. So people try to give up smoking, but the smoking is so strong that they feel helpless and they just say, no, it's not impossible. It's practically impossible, and they feel defeated. So that's the first stage. But then if they start practicing spiritual life, let's say they start chanting. That chanting now, as Prabhupada says, is powerful. That gives them the strength. And slowly, they'll be struggling, but they will still possibly be smoking. Which means it's purifying slowly, and they may smoke, and then it may seem like they're defeated. Like Prabhupada, when Prabhupada saw Shyam Sundar, he was painting his deities of Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra, and on top of Baladev was a packet of cigarettes. Prabhupada comes and says, "What's this?" "Oh, my cigarettes." Prabhupada hits it with his cane. And then says, "But Prabhupada, my cigarettes." Prabhupada said, "Yes, don't let one cigarette come between you and Krishna." And then Prabhupada said, you can reduce. If you're having 20 a week, okay, have 19 a week. Then the following week, 18. Then the following week, 17. Following week, 16. Eventually, 20 weeks, nothing. Great, progress. See, it's progress. So it's a struggle, and it may seem that you're defeated. But by continuing the process, slowly the struggle will then lead to success. Now I've given up after 20 weeks smoking. Okay? And now the struggle, even though I stopped smoking, but now the struggle becomes the withdrawal symptoms. Every time I look at the cigarette packet in the shop, the desire manifests. I feel like smoking. But I know I shouldn't. No. I made a vow I shouldn't smoke. I shouldn't take intoxication. I'm not going to smoke. So it's a struggle, but you've not indulged in it. You're stopping yourself from falling prey to the sinful habit, bad habit. So it's a struggle, but you're successful. Eventually, the more you progress on the path of devotional service, then it becomes effortless success, which means I'll never smoke again. And in fact, the cigarettes do nothing to me. You can hang a pack in front of me, you can make it loose, you can do what you want, you can put some in a pocket, nothing's gonna happen. I don't have any attachment, any desire, any withdrawal, nothing in relation to the cigarettes. In fact, it's a total waste of your time. Okay? There's no attachment to that cigarette. So now it's effortless success. Every material desire will go through these different stages. Some will take longer than others, but everyone will go that. Someone may think it's, this material desire really so powerful, I can't ever overcome it. Yes, you can't overcome it. But by devotional service, any sinful activity can be purified. So if I engage, it's going to be a struggle and I may be defeated, but eventually it'll be a struggle and I'll be successful. And then finally, it will never be a struggle because now I'm purified. If you consider illicit sex, gambling, intoxication, meat eating, those are conditioned sinful activities for the conditioned soul, not for the liberated soul. For the liberated soul, these activities don't feature because it's not part of the activities in the spiritual world. It's only for conditioned souls. So when one becomes situated nicely in the path of devotional service, then these four regular principles don't become an obstacle. They don't become a burden. It's like I have to, have to follow. I have to really struggle to follow them. No, they practically, after some time, they should practically become insignificant. They should not even feature. It's like, we don't even think about it. But for somebody who's new, who starts to chant and they want to really take it, make advancement, we tell them, please follow these four principles. And depending on their bad habits, they may have to struggle to give them up and challenging, but eventually they will. And what will allow them to purify their bad habits and achieve complete perfection? It is not them. Because on your own, you cannot make advancement. It is the power of devotional service. And therefore, Prabhupada concludes this purport and this book by explaining, you could say, the most important activities. We started off, Prabhupada starts off by surrendering to the Lord and praying for his causeless mercy. The devotee can progress on the path of complete self-realization. Of all the activities that falls under anukulyasya sankalpa, doing what is favorable for devotional service, Prabhupada concludes. Hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord is itself an act of piety. The Lord wants everyone to hear and chant his glories because he is the well-wisher of all living entities. By hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord, one becomes cleansed of all undesirable things. You will go through those stages and you will become purified of all undesirable things. And then one's devotion becomes fixed upon the Lord. See, your devotion will never be fixed if you're at stage 1 or stage 2 or stage 3 or stage 4. It has to be after those stages. At this stage, the devotee acquires the Brahmanical qualifications and the effects of the lower modes of nature, passion and ignorance, completely vanish. The devotee becomes fully enlightened by virtue of his devotional service, and thus he comes to know the path of the Lord and the way to attain him. As all doubts diminish, he becomes a pure devotee. This is a gradual process, and it all starts with hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord. Not service. That's the most important service. That's the service that has to be there for the effect to be, as Prabhupada is describing. You may engage in service, like I may make garlands. So I make garlands every week, and that's good. You will get purified. But you may have to make many garlands for few lifetimes if you don't hear and chant. Okay? The hearing and chanting is what nourishes the bhakti kripa. You are doing the garlands so that you can get a taste for hearing and chanting. The devotional activities are there for you to develop a taste for hearing and chanting. The more you become purified, you'll get an attachment to hearing and chanting. Most devotees, aspiring devotees, like to do some practical engagement, but they don't like to hear and chant the glories of Krishna. And that's not bad, but it's not good enough. Otherwise, Prabhupada in this purport would simply say, engage in the activities of devotional service, and in this way you become purified. But no, Prabhupada is ending the Sri Isopanisad by giving the conclusion from the Bhagavatam that hearing and chanting of the Lord is the most important activity. Because this is the Shravanadi Jal, the water that will nourish our devotional creeper. So we have to become attached to hearing and chanting. Reading is also hearing and chanting. If I'm reading from Prabhupada's books, I'm hearing Prabhupada speak through his books. Okay? If I'm hearing a lecture, that is hearing. So hearing and chanting the glories is a must. It's not an option. It's a must. If you stop if you hear little, you will have less effect. If you stop hearing and chanting, you will find that your creeper begins to dry up. And even your creeper will dry up, and you may start developing taste in something else. You will develop unwanted anarthas. So we have to constantly hear and chant. And we can measure our advancement by our desire and our intensity to hear and chant about Krishna. That's why Srila Prabhupada was very, what would be the word? He would correct devotees when they would sleep in class, during the Bhagavatam class. Because it's rare to hear about Krishna or get the opportunity to hear about Krishna. And when we have the opportunity, we have to stay awake. But because we don't have a taste, what happens? Then the modes of passion and ignorance, the lower modes, overtake. See? So we can measure, where's my taste? Is my taste more for Krishna or for something else? So when I know my taste, I know what I need to do to keep awake. And then Prabhupada would tell the devotees, if you can't stay awake, what you do? You stand. So in a Bhagavatam class, devotees, following, because we're coming from the conditional stage where there is no hearing and chanting. There's no taste for hearing and chanting. We don't have that taste. We're coming from the material world. So when the devotees slowly, realize, oops, I'm falling off to sleep, then if they're serious, what they'll do? They will have to digest their false ego, accept their false ego, right? Because as soon as they stand up, what everyone's going to think? Oh, he was falling off to sleep. Huh? Yeah. Right? So your false ego gets a little pricked. But then they go stand at the back, and then they're standing. Now it's more difficult to fall off to sleep if you're standing. I remember one devotee, even in Hillborough, he was chanting japa, and the next minute we hear bang. We noticed, he walked into the wall. So he was a special case. He fell out to sleep even while he was walking, walked into the wall. Right? So, okay. So they would stand, and Prabhupada was encouraging them, because then at least it's a little more difficult for you to fall off to sleep. Right? I normally say, bite the chili, or keep asleep, do something, keep awake, right? Because now when Prabhupada is speaking, what's happening? It's going in your ears. and it's going into your heart and you're getting purified. But if you fall off to sleep, then it's not going in. So if one stays awake, then the hearing and chanting goes in and has an effect. And Prabhupada gave the example. This one person was sick. Whatever he ate immediately would come out. Tried eating and immediately would come out. They went through different doctors, whatever ate would come out. So they went to one Ayurvedic doctor. And I told the Ayurvedic doctor, we tried all different medicines, we tried all different things, whatever you eat just comes out. So the Ayurvedic doctor said, okay, give him some ghee. Ghee? Yeah, give him some ghee. So he took some ghee and what happened? Came out. So they told the doctor, same thing happening. So, yeah, keep giving him the ghee. Okay, so they kept giving ghee. Came out. Kept giving ghee. Came out. Before he went to the doctor, he was getting weaker and weaker and weaker because whatever he was eating wasn't going into his system and was getting weaker. Now all of a sudden he's getting stronger and stronger and stronger, and they phoned the doctor, hey, it's working. Doctor said, yeah, he knows. So why it was working? Even though he was taking ghee and everything was coming out, ghee is very sticky. So he was taking in and some of the ghee gets stuck onto the gut. Right? And then the ghee comes out, but not everything comes out because it still gets stuck on the gut. So what was getting stuck on the gut was getting digested into his body. Then it takes more, little gets stuck on the gut, that gets digested. So in this way, he was taking ghee, whatever was getting stuck to his gut was coming into his system. And that way he was becoming healthy. So like that, we don't have a taste to hear. But if we at least stay awake, some little ghee of Krishna's hearing and chanting goes in and gets stuck. Right? So in this way, slowly we will rise above the modes of lower modes, and eventually we will get a taste to hear and chant. We'll come to the stage where we'll get a taste to hear and chant that even though I'm totally exhausted, but as soon as I begin to hear the glories of Krishna, I become wide awake. Now we have this experience. I'm sure everyone has this experience. And 10:30, 11 o'clock is your favorite program. Previously, before you became a devotee. So you're waiting 9:30, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 11:30 your program is starts, and you're wide awake. What happened to your tiredness? All this while you were tired, exhausted, practically falling asleep. Now as soon as the program starts, you're wide awake. See? Because you have a taste for it. You have a taste for it. So similarly, we have to cultivate our taste to hear and chant. And the more we cultivate our taste to hear and chant, I will be able to stay at least awake. Eventually, what's going to happen? Like this, to stay awake is a helpless defeat. Then to stay awake is a struggle and a defeat. Then to stay awake is a struggle and success. I can stay awake is a little struggling, at least I can keep my eyes open, and then eventually effortless success. No problem to stay awake. Okay? Because now you have a taste. In fact, now you want to hear more and more and more, and you don't want to stop hearing. That's the stage we want to come to. Not like, the kirtan or the class starts when it's prasadam time. Right? And you want to try to disappear as soon as possible. Now, yes, in the beginning, that may be there. Because you haven't read Sri Isopanisad, you haven't come to this last purport, and in many places, Prabhupada, in the Bhagavatam, Prabhupada talks about hearing and chanting so often, so many places. It'll come up again and again. Because it's not like Prabhupada is repeating this, just because you want to fill the book. No, this point will come up again and again and again throughout the Bhagavatam. See? Hearing and chanting is what will nourish the soul. And the only reason, because we don't have attachment to hearing and chanting, Prabhupada made an arrangement for us to engage in practical service, so at least we can keep the senses engaged and purified to get the taste to hear and chant. And if we do this, we'll go through the stages of purification, we'll develop the qualities. Eventually, we will see Krishna face to face, engage in his pure devotional service, and become pure devotees. Any questions or comments? O my Lord, as powerful as fire, omnipotent one, now I offer you all obeisances, falling on the ground at your feet. O my Lord, please lead me on the right path to reach you. And since you know all that I've done in the past, please free me from the reactions to my past sins so that there will be no hindrance to my progress. Anyone has any questions? Yes. So, yes, if in Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada is referring to the 6th chapter where Arjuna asks Krishna, if somebody is on this path of spiritual progress, a yogi, and he does not complete his journey, what happens to him? And Krishna says, next life, this yogi will be born either in a Brahmanical family or in a rich merchant family. If he practiced for a long time, then he'll be born in a Brahmin family. If it's a short time, in a wealthy family. So why? Obviously, in a Brahmin family means he'll have the good quality, his parents will have the good qualities and they'll bring him like that with those devotional qualities, right? For a rich merchant, he wouldn't have to worry about his maintenance. Most people have to struggle to maintain their life, and because they're struggling so hard to maintain their life, to bring spiritual life in there is not even a question. But if I have no problem of money, right? Now, remember, if I have no problem of money and I have good guidance, then immediately I can take advantage of that. The problem is I have all the money, but I have no guidance. And because I have all the money and no guidance, I use the money in the wrong things and I get deviated. That's why Prabhupada is saying you can misuse that. And because of that misuse, I can lose the opportunity. Because generally those who are pious, wealthy, they would obviously have some guru. And if that guru guides them, I know many very wealthy people, they have a priest. And for everything they want to bring the priest. Got my new shop, the priest must come and do puja. My family getting married, the priest must come. Right? So they have this relation with the priest. So that priest, if that priest gives them good advice, then they can use their wealth in the proper way. But they don't have to have, they don't need, there's no anxiety of maintenance, how to work hard, working 2 jobs, anxiety, no time. That is not a problem at all. You want to give a donation? Oh yeah, no problem. You want to build a temple? Yeah, build a temple. See? So that anxiety is not there. Becomes a facility. Yeah. You consider Amrish Prabhu, right? Got money, no anxiety. Now his anxiety is how to use all the money in Prabhupada's service. That's a good anxiety. But somebody who's struggling just to make ends meet, put food on the table. Now if you go to them, they can't even feed themselves. And now you go tell them chant Hare Krishna, they're not going to be interested. Prabhupada says some people are so hungry, you cannot tell them to chant Hare Krishna, you have to feed them first. When you fulfill the belly, now their little anxiety is free. If you can fill the belly every day, now there's no anxiety. Now you can tell them chant Hare Krishna. So that's how it becomes a opportunity. Prabhupada uses the word a facility. Becomes an opportune facility. Just like the human body is an opportune facility, so that position as in a good devotee family or a wealthy family is a good opportunity, good facility. All of them can be deviated. The good Brahmana, he may not cultivate his child properly, deviation. The good father who's a billionaire, if he doesn't cultivate his child, deviated, right? And we said even somebody who's born in a devotee family, if the parents don't cultivate him, he can be deviated. Every single one. Yeah. How they bring up the children with the proper understanding for them to become devotees, then they can take advantage. Otherwise, can be deviated. Any other questions? Exam? Right. Y'all couldn't even answer last week's question. Yeah, you have to memorize. And these points that Prabhupada is making the purport, they are meant to be memorized. That's what makes us grow. When we know these points that Prabhupada is referring to, and Prabhupada refers them in different parts of his purports, but the idea that he's referring these points is for us to make it part of our consciousness, because that knowledge will help us progress. It'll give us the proper direction of discrimination to understand what's right or wrong. So the Prabhupada's purports are very important for us to slowly but gradually memorize. That's very important. It's purifying to read and to associate, but more so to try to remember the points that Prabhupada is making, so that we can also use it to preach to other people or to reveal or to tell other people. That way, we can remind ourselves. Okay, so we'll stop here. Next week, we will try to start Nectar of Devotion. We'll just either next week or the following, just to give us all the give us some time to get all the information together, and then we may start systematically. I mean, we will start systematically with Nectar Devotion, so you can start reading preface of Nectar Devotion. Prabhupada said we should study it 8 times minimum, and we should know Nectar because it's the devotee's law book. So Prabhupada spoke about devotional service, accepting those things favorable, rejecting those things unfavorable. So what is devotional service? What is pure devotional service? What are the symptoms? How to practice it? What to do? That is all discussed in Nectar Devotion. A very, very important book for devotees. Thank you. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.